Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In this video, we begin with a very intense story from the subreddit Am I the A-hole with an update. Then, we move on to some petty revenge, and we finish up today with some malicious compliance. And as usual, if you want to move around the different parts of the video, you can just use the timestamps below it. Now, let's get started with that first story. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Her Wedding Day. Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk my daughter down the aisle? My daughter, 26 female, and I haven't spoken in years. When she was 15, we found out she wasn't my biological daughter, and my wife had cheated on me years ago with a friend. As it turns out, this so-called friend was suddenly interested in playing dad. My wife and I divorced. My daughter learned the truth, and I told her I still loved her no matter what. Of course, she was interested now in getting to know her biological father, and while it hurt, I tried to accept that. She started pulling away from me after that. Even when trying to still do things together as a family, she was no longer interested. The last straw was when she was 20 and living at my house. We were arguing because she dropped from her college courses, hasn't done anything for 3 months, and was mad because I told her she either needed to go to school or work if she wants to stay here for free. She told me I'm not her real dad, so stop pretending like I am, and she'll just go stay with her real father. That broke me, honestly. I told her if that's how she really feels, then there's really nothing left to say between us, and she did move out to go live with him. I was depressed for a very long time, drank so much. My son, 24 male, was my only reason to keep moving forward. For the first couple of years, I reached out to my daughter. She wanted no contact. I learned to accept that and moved on. It helped me find more peace in my life. My son stopped talking to her for a while over this and was angry with her. They still chat sometimes, which doesn't bother me at all. Through him, I learned her biological father died in October 2019, also that she's engaged. She reached out to me, first that she knows that we haven't talked in a while, but wants to ask me if I'd be willing to walk her down the aisle. After a pretty long message about how much she hurt me in the past with her actions, I told her no. She didn't want me to be her father anymore, so I learned to no longer view her as my daughter. This turned into a fight between us because, according to her, it's not her fault she wanted to know her real dad. And I agreed with her, it's not. But what was her fault was how she treated me ever since. In my mind, I know if he hadn't passed, we wouldn't even be speaking right now. It ended with me telling her I hope she enjoys her wedding, but I want no part of it or her life. My sons told me she's ranting to my family that I'm ruining her day, and she thought parents were supposed to love their kids unconditionally. My brothers seem to think that I'm being an a-hole, and this is my chance to be in her life again. But I have no interest in that. Still seems everyone has a strong opinion on it that I'm making it difficult for my daughter to have the wedding she wants when it would mean a lot to her. My son is on my side, but the comments are still wearing me down, and just for the sake of my sanity, am I being an a-hole? Wow, OP, first of all, no, you are most definitely not the a-hole. She made her bed, now she has to lie in it. She totally cut you out. She told you that you are not her real dad, so stop acting like it. Stormed out of your life and wanted no contact. But now that she doesn't have someone to walk her down the aisle, she wants you to step up? No, I'm sorry, that's not how things go. I think your read of the situation is absolutely right. She would have never reached out to you if her real dad was still alive. So yeah, OP, in my opinion, you are definitely not the a-hole. Now, if I may make a suggestion as a side note, I think you should stop referring to her as my daughter. Maybe call her by her name or something if you do need to talk about her. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment in this situation? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see their judgment. Cloth Diaper Addicts says, not the a-hole. She decided that you're not her father in any capacity. You've respected that. Now that the other guy's dead, she doesn't get to change the rules. She doesn't want you, she wants someone to play a part. Maybe your son can be the one to give her away instead. Not a Robot, Honest, says, not the a-hole. Wow, OP, I'm so sorry to read through your story, and some people may disagree, but I really don't think you're the a-hole. You attempted contact through the years, but it wasn't you that became distant. It was your daughter. She wanted to get to know her bio dad, nothing wrong with that, but at the expense of becoming distant and eventually having no contact with you, her dad, who had been there for her since she was born. Now, the bio dad isn't there to walk her down the aisle. OP, if she wanted you at her wedding, you would have gotten an invitation and not become a stand-in for a deceased bio dad. Why can't her brother walk her down the aisle? Personally, I think she just wants her wedding to look good, irrespective of how you feel. Not the a-hole at all. And OP responds, he said he's not going to the wedding regardless, but I'm not sure if she would ask him. SS Trian says, not the a-hole. To quote the prelance of the kids these days, she effed around and now she's finding out. Of course, it's not her fault she wanted to know her biological father. It's unfortunately her fault that she ended up burning the bridge with her dad. You raised her for over half her life not knowing she wasn't yours. She should have been a lot more grateful for the part you played in her life than she was. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? That familial love should be unconditional, but more and more often we're seeing people, correctly, realizing that cutting out toxic family members is okay, and that nobody is ever obligated to set themselves on fire to keep other people warm. The thing with that is, while it's often used to cement to kids that they don't need a relationship with their parents, the street goes two ways. It's absolutely fine to realize that it also means parents don't need to maintain a relationship with their toxic kids. She doesn't get to cut you out of her life as a father when it suits her and then decide you need to resume the role no questions asked without complaint when the guy she replaced you with isn't around anymore. And OP responds, that's something I've had to learn the hard way as well. Cutting out family for your own mental health no matter how much it kills you. It hurts, but sometimes it's what's best for your life. My son saw how badly it was putting me in a very dark place that I almost didn't come back from. Additional information from OP's comments. Regarding our argument, it was never about kicking her out. It was about living there rent-free. If she didn't start working or continuing with school, then I was going to start charging her rent because those were my conditions for my kids if they wanted to keep living there and not paying for anything. It was never pay rent or get out. I never gave up on her. For years I reached out and she's the one who said I am not her real father and to leave her alone. That's how she told me and I decided that's fine then. Was I a perfect father when this all came out? No. We tried our best to keep the kids as much as possible with therapy when this all happened. She decided for years that she wanted nothing to do with me, so I learned to cut her out of my life and to move on. I'm not going to allow her back in. Not when this whole mess almost cost me my life, and I'll never let that pain put me in that dark place where I was before during all this. I have another child to think about and I won't be dragged down that road again. Well, we see that the majority of the community completely supports OP's decision to not be involved in anything and tell her that it's not gonna happen. Apparently, some people disagree with that and try to confront OP, but thanks to that, we got a lot more information from OP to round up this story. So now that we've got everything we need to know, let's move on with the update and see what happened after this. Thank you for your support, especially those fellow parents who reached out in my messages. Advice, judgment, and suggestions on what to do about my family. It took sending a mass text to everyone who wouldn't leave me alone about this. Took me some time to think of what to write and clear my head from everything. The reminder of everything that I did over the years to try to be in her life and where that all ended. How detrimental it was to my mental health. They all remember how it was like. How much it put me in a dark place that took lots of therapy and the need to be there for my son to get out of. My brother called me after. He apologized for the way he was pushing this. We had a much longer conversation. I told him my decision to remain out of her life was final, so he respected that. Since no one else has said anything, I'm hoping that means everybody else got the message. The best thing some suggested here was blocking out the others saying things in her. It wasn't doing my mind any good. I spoke to her over the phone and talked about the way she's been behaving online and the others in the family. I apologized for how things happened and wish she didn't have to deal with these life-altering moments at such a young age. She made her choice for the past 6 years just the way I have. Even asked her to be honest with herself and answer, not to me. If her biological father hadn't passed, would we be here right now speaking to each other? She didn't say anything, but that's fine. It's a question for her to honestly answer to herself, like I did before I told her to enjoy her wedding and hope it's a lovely, healthy marriage. And this door to our relationship is closed. Hope she could find peace with that and enjoy her life the way I have. The conversation ended shortly after that. She didn't say if she would stop saying anything about me online, so I just made sure to block her and others on her mom's side of the family to make sure there's no more bothering. This is the peace of mind I needed, and glad to have taken up this advice. Okay then, short, sweet, and to the point. OP said enough is enough, spoke to his family and told them to quit it, gave them some context, so they did. The brother backed him up, so that's good, and he had a closure conversation with his former daughter and blocked her and her family from any kind of social media. So hopefully OP can keep focusing on his son and himself and keep moving forward. All the best to you, OP. Take care. And now, we move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge, and it's by user CookieMonster1997. Crappy server demands a better tip. A couple of months back, my boyfriend and I went out for drinks one night at this cool little speakeasy in Montreal. It's actually quite an interesting place. You come in through a nondescript entrance, and the place has a really nice vibe going on once you get inside. Note, this is one of those bars where the server comes to your table and serves the drinks, rather than one where you order at the bar and take the drinks back yourself. We were seated at our table by the server. We ordered a couple cocktails, and then a couple more, and then a couple more after that. Each time we had to order, my boyfriend or I would have to go fetch the server so he would take our order, or go up to the bar, order, and then bring the drinks back ourselves. Then, when it came time for the bill, I went up again so he would come to our table. He came up and thought we were going to order again, despite me clearly asking for the bill when I went up. So, he went back to get the card machine, and it was another 10 minutes before he was back. At this point, I was quite ticked off at the not-so-great service and was debating whether or not I should tip him. The screen had an option for 10%, 15%, 20%, or other. I decided to just leave 10% as I wanted to avoid an argument with the server. Montreal service employees are pretty damn notorious when it comes to the expectation of tips. Now, he prints out the receipt and takes a look at it and sees I left 10%. He then asks if we had a nice evening, to which my boyfriend responded that we did. We both thought it was just a standard question servers asks, so we didn't bother telling him about the poor service received, especially because it wouldn't really make a difference at this point. The guy then says, "Oh, well, if you had such a nice time, then you should have left at least 15% tip. Because in Canada, it's customary to leave a minimum 15% when the service is good." I'm guessing the reason he felt the need to outline that's how it is in Canada is because I'm a brown guy. Now comes the petty part. I responded, "Oh, I didn't know. Why don't you cancel this bill and redo it so I can tip you properly?" He said, "Sure thing, just give me a second because the manager has to approve bill cancellations." Again, we waited a good 10 minutes for him to come back with the new bill. I was happy to wait though, because once he came back, I put in the PIN and then selected the other option for tip and left him 0%. He printed out the receipt and the look of disbelief was well worth it. We got up and my white Canadian boyfriend said, "Our only tip for you is to give better service and not be so much of an a-hole. In Canada, we don't really like a-holes." Ha ha ha, well done OP. Well, he said it. When the service is good, you get 15%. But you guys didn't get that, so he got 0. Anyways, thanks for sharing OP. And now, let's move on to the next post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user The Kirsch. Send me out as an errand boy because everyone else is too lazy to go? Enjoy lost sales. This actually happened a couple of weeks ago. I work for a company that processes highly perishable items and delivers them to grocery stores. One of the products we sell requires butter. Like clockwork, as soon as the warehouse gets low on butter, they send me out to pick some up from a supply store. I work in an office and it's not my job, nor is it my responsibility to pick up ingredients for the warehouse. But every time they send me because everyone else, including managers, is too lazy to go. The supply store we go to requires a membership card to enter the building. That card has been lost for months and the managers keep forgetting to get a replacement card. So each time I go, I have to acquire a temporary day pass. The last few times I went there, they have been warning me that they will no longer offer day passes, and the only person who can acquire a new membership card is the person whose name is on the account, who happens to be one of my supervisors. I have been warning him over and over that he needs a new card because they will stop letting me in the building. Each time I am given the same answer: "I will go when I have time." Fast forward to today. The warehouse is once again in need of butter, and they once again asked me to pick it up because they are too lazy to go. This time I did not remind them about needing a membership card, because I have told them about it several times and they are too lazy to take care of it. So I wait until nearly the end of my shift to attempt to buy the butter, and I was told once again that I need a membership card and will not be allowed inside, just as I expected. Afterward, I returned to the office telling my supervisor I was unsuccessful because, as I've stated several times, they are no longer offering day passes. It's now past 9 p.m. and everyone else has gone home. My supervisor had nothing else to say as he knew this was his mistake for being lazy, and at this point it's too late to go to the supply store because it's rush hour traffic, and by the time he would get there it will be closed. Because of his laziness, they were not able to buy the butter in bulk and had to tell the customer that we will be short on that item. Easily a few $1,000s worth of sales lost due to lazy managers who think they are too important to do anything. After that, they stopped asking me to pick up the butter. Well, OP, they get what they get and you did what you had to do. That was not your job to do and you warned them several times, so I guess they got what they deserve. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.